everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Mommy Fuel. My name is Kelly Lewis, and I'm a licensed professional counselor here in Texas.
And I am Candace Wright, and I am a licensed professional counselor and a certified life coach.
And in this video, we wanted to talk about managing expectations.
Our expectations impact our daily life for everybody, not just moms, but it's true for our spouses and our other family members. So this is an important video for everyone to kind of tune into and learn more about how those expectations impact us.
So I think, as moms specifically, I think our expectations start even before our kiddos are even born. Like, I remember being pregnant, and your first doctor's appointment you go, they give you a list of things you should and shouldn't do. So from the get-go, I think it kind of creates this dynamic where we start to put expectations on ourselves. And sometimes that's good to have expectations, and we want to have certain boundaries and certain limits, but sometimes those expectations can actually hurt us or not do good for us.
One of the things that we talk about sometimes is how our expectations are what create all of our distress in our world. And so that may seem strange, but what I mean by distress, I'm talking about your anger, disappointment, frustration. That comes from when our expectations aren't met. So when real life doesn't match the world we have in our head, we get upset. With that, the wider that gap is, if our expectations are over here and this is our real life, the further we are apart, the more upsetting it is. And so part of the work there is understanding those expectations and trying to close that gap in some so that it's not as distressing for us.
And so what are some of the ways that we can go about closing that gap or kind of adjusting our expectations?
I think one of the important things there is, one, understanding how they impact us and taking that moment to kind of evaluate where we're at to see what the expectations are. We have so many automatic thoughts that sometimes we don't realize the expectations that we're holding. So a good exercise there maybe is to journal, what has just happened and what were my expectations, and see where they're not congruent with each other.
I think it's also important, sometimes you may feel that other people are putting expectations on you. So whether it's friends or family or your kids, they expect certain things. Yeah. And I think sometimes we can start to internalize those expectations, and they start to become our expectations, and a lot of times they're unrealistic. And we start to strive to meet those, and it becomes stressful, and it becomes we look like we're running around like a chicken with her head cut off, because we're just trying to manage too much, and we're trying to meet all these expectations that not only other people have put upon us, but now that we've put upon ourselves. And so I think it is really important to be in tune with that and to make those adjustments if necessary.
Those adjustments could look like a couple different things. So it could be that we are changing or altering the expectations that we're holding. We can also try to get that real world to match up with that expectation, and sometimes that's possible, sometimes it's not. Or we can just kind of redefine it and see if it's an expectation that's important for us to hold. Kelly kind of touched on it, but I think the other piece there is the expectation that we place on others. We expect our kids to behave in a certain way, or to reach certain milestones, or to have certain achievements. Oftentimes with our spouses, we expect them to know what we're thinking or what we wanted them to do, and they're often wrong because they're not mind readers. So that's an expectation that we need to stop doing there. And I think the same is true for other people, even in public. I mean, we expect people to behave a certain way. We often have an expectation of fairness, and even though rationally we know that that's not accurate because the world isn't fair, sometimes we still believe that it should be, and we get really upset when it's not.
I think that's all great information, and I think you're absolutely right. I think it took me 2 years, the first 2 years of our marriage, to realize my husband couldn't read my mind. Yeah. And he didn't have the same viewpoint on what the kitchen should look like that I did. And so that communication becomes important. And I think recognizing that certain things that might be important to you aren't important to everyone else the same way. So I think that's great information to kind of take to mind. So this is a great time for everyone to kind of think about what expectations do you have on yourself? Are those realistic? Are they causing you stress and harm? And what are your expectations of other people? And are those realistic? Or are they causing more stress in your relationships?
When you look at realistic expectations, if you're expecting perfection, you're going to be disappointed a lot because things are not going to be perfect. But I talk to so many people who consider themselves perfectionists, and they're just frustrated and angry all the time. And so changing that expectation to something that's more realistic and more achievable will help reduce some of that distress for you.
Well, thank you for joining us for episode 3. Please remember to share and subscribe to our channel, and we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.